Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Mika Andersson from Product Marketing, and today I'm with Mark Englund, and we are going to talk about Vaadin Copilot. Really interesting look into how it all started, where we are today, and where we are heading next. But before jumping into the today's agenda, let's have a brief introduction. Mark.
Yeah, let's see if my microphone works. So I'm Mark, product strategist, but for all intents and purposes, functioning as product manager for Vaadin Copilot. So that's what I'm here to talk about today.
Awesome. And as usual, we really would try to make this event conversational. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to ask. And we do our best to address those questions as we go. But in case we are missing a question or not able to cover all the questions during the presentation, we will have some time preserved in the end of the presentation. And unlike the last webinar, this time we try to be on time and have the time for the Q&A in the end.
That's what you think now.
That's what I'm thinking now. Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes. But without further ado, let's get started. Mark?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of things to cover. We'll try to be fairly brief, but still cover a lot of things. So yeah, most of this is going to be kind of live demoing. So if you shoot questions, then Mika will kind of tell me if there's something additional I should clarify and so on once I'm demoing. But first, let's take a look at a few slides here. So a bit of a recap of how we got here. So why we made Vaadin Copilot, what the thinking has been, and kind of how it's evolved. So at the Vaadin Create conference in October 2023, so pretty close to 1.5 years ago, Jonas outlined a product vision that included kind of an AI-enhanced UI development tool. Very much just a vision at the time, kind of an idea sketch, but we also have some experience in building other visual editors that we can kind of use for this. So Vaadin Designer, which has served us well for many years, is more of a traditional tool where you open up a view and design it separately. And then some of you might remember Vaadin Studio was an experiment that was closer to kind of Apple's Playgrounds type of deal, where you kind of, it's a code first thing where you can see the results instantly. Both of these approaches kind of have various challenges, especially kind of around state and actually seeing kind of the views and components as they will appear when the real application is running. So we realized that we wanted kind of a tool that fits seamlessly into developers' workflows. So code first, but still visual and kind of good for iterating on the UI. Something that helps you with sanding, the process we all do when we're kind of clicking around, trying it out, then going back to code to adjust. So a tool that's kind of there all the time, ready to jump in and help you at a moment's notice when you need it. So kind of a co-pilot. We realized that this was kind of the perfect way to describe it. And even when there's no AI involved, but since kind of Copilot was becoming a thing at the time and we were going to create an AI enhanced tool, the name was kind of a no-brainer. Of course, we later realized that this made people assume that it's only AI, which it's not. But yeah, one thing we knew from the start that we'd want to do is kind of blur the lines between AI and non-AI. So kind of use AI when it's helpful and traditional, more deterministic code when that's sufficient. So it's taken us a while to get there, but I'll show a bit of what that might look like later. So kind of to summarize, Vaadin Copilot is intended to be kind of a handy helper you can call on whenever convenient, whether it's using AI or not to help you, should ideally not matter. This is maybe not the case at the moment, but we do still think that that's the future we are going towards. So Vaadin Copilot is running kind of with your application. So you can edit what you currently see and you're able to access the current state and so on. And this is a bit of a novel approach. It's for a visual tool like this, it's a bit more like DevTools than a traditional visual editor. And so far, the benefits seem to far outweigh the challenges, but it is a bit of a unusual way to kind of distribute a tool like this. So let's kind of take a closer look at what Vaadin Copilot offers today. Not all the details, but summary of the main highlights I'll demo later. But first, as mentioned, Vaadin Copilot comes with your project. So you don't have to install it separately. Just kind of click the button when your application is running in development mode. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut, so hold Shift and tap Command twice on the Mac, Control twice on Windows. And then one more thing to remember, although Copilot works without it, you absolutely should install the IDE plugins that we provide for IntelliJ and VS Code. So Copilot will warn you if you don't. And we kind of strongly encourage you to install these, even if you're not planning to use Copilot, because the plugins also help with other things like set up hot swap. So you can then kind of use debug with hot swap, and that will give you a much better experience when coding, and is kind of essential when you're dragging and dropping, which is why Copilot is kind of telling you to do that.
So this basically, Mark,
yes.
means that whenever I'm making changes using Copilot within the browser, those changes will go to the code and then reflect it back in my browser.
Yes.
What? Got it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That we created Copilot, so your code is always kind of the source of truth. So it's not kind of showing a representation and then transforming that to code. It's updating the code and then showing that. So when you are coding, hot swap will make those changes appear kind of instantly, or it seems like that when you're kind of coding. But when you're dragging and dropping, you realize that you actually want those changes to be even faster, so you can kind of drag things around and so on. So that's why you should have hot swap on. So, okay, so here's kind of just showing that an application with hot swap and Copilot running and so on. And kind of, yeah, speaking of drag and drop, let's see if I can hop over to my live demo here.
Exciting.
Yes, so let me just adjust my things here and see. Yeah, we have IntelliJ running here. I've pressed like a debug using hot swap agent, and the application is running here. So kind of, if I start Copilot now, I'm going to try to remember to press the button and not use the shortcut, because you can't see when that happens, but I might use the shortcut accidentally. Anyway,
so
here's the...
Yeah, yes. This is the place from where you access Copilot, right?
Yes. So this little button here, it has some things that I can kind of use without enabling Copilot. So now my application is like running normally. And then when I click the button, it's activating Copilot, and I get some additional features. And one thing I'm noticing is that I'm not running. I accidentally closed my application. So, well, it's a real demo, I promise.
Awesome.
We're live here.
Well,
so yeah, now we can. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Mark. Do you mind if I take a quick question now? while it's
sure.
getting started. Do you know if there is well, of course you do know, is there an Eclipse plugin for Hotspot?
There is not, but I might mention Eclipse later on in this.
Alrighty. We'll keep my ears open.
Yes, it's towards the very end. You'll have to stick around. Anyway, now we should be up and running. And so now it's recognizing me and so on. Maybe I should show at this point, this is kind of the development workflow thing will warn you if you have, if like something is not up and running optimally. Yes. So here we are. And now with Copilot enabled, I can kind of, let's see. So we have everything running here now after the restart. I can kind of mouse around and see kind of the, well, this is not a very interesting view, but I can see kind of the structure, the different components I have. And here, tucked away to the left, I have a bunch of tools. So for instance, the outline here, I can actually pop it out, will show me the structure as well of the code. So it's kind of showing the hierarchy with more precision. If I have multiple nested layouts, it's kind of convenient. I can also navigate around with arrow keys in this structure. So put that away. The next thing here, let's just kind of show, we have a palette here. So what I can do is just, I'm going to show kind of the sort of basic features here now, because usually when we have a release webinar, we don't remind you about those. So I can drag and drop things here now from this palette here. So just adding a few buttons. I can select multiple things. And in the menu here, I can, for instance, wrap something with a horizontal layout. As you can see, I have kind of options for adjusting the padding and gap between the items here as well. I can just double click here to be like save, change that to save. Surprise. This makes no sense in this view, of course, but just to demonstrate these basic things here. So I can change things by double clicking, and we will probably get demo effects like this when I'm running all the streaming things. So my IntelliJ is doing something. This is on great. This is not Copilot. This is IntelliJ. Maybe I should restart whole of IntelliJ. Let's at least restart the application. It might be hogging my memory now with the video streaming. But yeah, so we're showing this is a real kind of live demo in my little application here. Anyway, so all those changes made it through and so on. IntelliJ did something very interesting. But so one more thing is kind of showing kind of that connection to code here. So if I in the menu I have these kind of go to source, so I can quickly hop over to where that thing is created. It's a small thing, but it can be very convenient to kind of find where that thing was created. So you can see now the two buttons I added have been added here, and they have actually kind of proper names and so on. Yes.
That's super handy, especially if you're like new to a project and exactly. You want to explore yes. how things have been composed, and where do I find the code for this button or this Dropbox or whatever.
Yes, it's such a time saver when you kind of navigate to the place you are supposed to change, but then you can just quickly find it in the code as well. So yeah, that's exactly what that's for. Yes, so speaking of which, let's create another view, but as you can see, there's not very much in here. And the reason for that is that this application actually has a login. But one feature we have is impersonation. So what you end up doing quite often when you're developing an application with authentication, which most business applications have, is you end up logging out and logging in again, and then trying to find where you are. Hello, I think we are having, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it seems you have some connectivity challenges maybe. That seems to be the case. Oh, well, that was an interesting thing to happen during a webinar, but this is what it is when doing things live. Well, let me check if I can ping Mark very quickly in Slack and see what's going on his side. Yeah, it very much seems that Mark is now offline and not able to get online, at least for the time being. That's a tough challenge. Too bad we were just in the middle of demoing on using the Copilot live. Unfortunately, I'm not able to continue on Mark's behalf as I don't have the environment set up here. And since we were planning to do quite demo-heavy presentation today, it looks like we are not going to be able to finish this demo. So all I can say is I'm sorry about the technical challenges we are experiencing at the moment, and looks like we need to close the session way too early. My apologies for this. And oh, there he is. Your audio is working and camera is on. I was just about to say that we are going to cancel the session as I'm not going to be able to finish it on my own, but super happy to have you back.
Yeah. I have no idea what happened. I just got a message that internet connection is bad. It doesn't seem really to be bad. So, and I could hear you speaking, but my things were not working.
All righty.
We can try to continue, but
let's continue. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Everything will go smooth.
Yeah, let's try to share everything again. Okay, I'm gonna move very slowly to try to see. Okay, that was interesting. Everything seems normal now.
Yeah.
Nobody moved.
Everything looks good. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think I was about to log in but cheat. So I was saying that you end up logging out and back in as a different user. So we have implemented this impersonation feature. So if I can type in a name of any user that's configured in my application now. These are remembered, so I'll just click one. And this particular user is an admin. It's me. I can just show you that. So now you can see I have more things in the menu. If I switch to some other user, I can get other things here in the menu. So you can see that the menu is changing a little bit. Yes, and why was I going to do that? I think we were supposed to add a view. So let's see. I'm just arranging my things here again. Yes. Anyway, enable Copilot again. So I'm just gonna go ahead and so you can see here we've covered the outline and palette kind of things. We have a views and routes thing here, and my demo application has a whole bunch of things. You can see different permissions and so on. There's a button here to kind of add a new view. So this is just going to be kind of a dummy fake view, but let's just person admin. I can choose which type and kind of what it's supposed to contain, but yeah, let's just use a form. I can choose if it's like the permissions for it. So let's do selected roles and admin here. And let's create that view. Oops, I was clicking twice. Create that view. So now it created a new view for me with the route I specified and kind of some kind of from a template here. So yeah, let's actually turn off Copilot and see kind of, yeah, this is created a form for me. As the next thing, so that's kind of a convenient helper. You would, maybe you can hop to the source here. So, I mean, it's created a bunch of things, and it just kind of saves a lot of time when you don't have to do these boilerplate things that always look the same. So kind of nice to have a view creation thing. Yes, and kind of one thing I wanted to show is we have here in the menu, so let's navigate. Something we have been working on lately, which is kind of custom components. So when you're making a real application, you usually have some components that are not just from the Vaadin built-in kind of component set. You have some composites and kind of, we call those custom components. In this case, kind of project components here. So kind of, you can see we have an Acme card here that's actually existing in my project, and you can see I have 3 instances, and I can kind of work with these. But what if I want to change the card now, since we're kind of running in the application, and how do I know what I'm changing? So that's kind of, you can see here that the view name is shown. I'm kind of always now drilled into a specific context. So if I want to edit the Acme card, I double click, and I'm now in the Acme card context, editing the Acme card Java file. You can also see here in the outline that I'm not now kind of drilled down and can see the internals of the Acme card. So now if I kind of, let's just drag this button here, and you can see that it changes all the instances here. So now I kind of, let's hop over to actually the code. So here's the code. And so when I was dragging, it was changing the order of these buttons here. So I was actually editing that instance. Yes. So if I edit specific instances, so let's try this. Let's try the thing that didn't work very well in the release webinar, and that was because my example code was not actually set up correctly. So let's first make sure we're drilled in here. So let's see what kind of trouble we can get into this time. So I have some images here, and this is a feature that you can use kind of anywhere. If you need an image into your application, Copilot can kind of accept that as drag and drop. So I drag this in here, and I can choose kind of where I want to put it, depending on the API of the custom component. So in this case, I want to set the image, and with any luck, it shows up. So that's now set to that instance, not to the kind of class name, just to show that actually works. And kind of, nope. If you drag things, maybe I shouldn't. If you drag things too fast in the browser and drop, you might end up just showing the image. Let's see if we can do that again. Maybe I should slow down. Okay, no, not like that. You can see now I wasn't drilled down into the correct context, and I can't kind of put anything into the, yeah, you get the point. So anyway, let's leave that alone. I promise you can drop things. But with the browser, be a little bit careful when you have to switch windows. It tends to take a while, at least on my Mac, before the browser reacts that you're actually dragging. So if you drop too quickly, it will just show the image and not actually add it here. So yeah, that's a little bit of a warning. Yes. Oh yeah, one more thing we should show. So when you have these custom components in your project, you might want to use them many times. And then it's convenient to have it in the palette. So we now have this feature where you can add to palette, and it will actually show up. So let's search here. Down here with custom components, I now have the Acme card. I also have the option to edit some things like the icon I can change if I want, and the name of it and so on. Yes. Yes.
Hey, Mark, quick question.
Yes.
What if I add my component to the palette? Where does that information get persisted? Is it in the browser, or does it get written into a configuration file within the project?
Yes, good question. That's actually now getting written into a JSON file that's kind of symbolizing your or is your palette. And so right now it's kind of a project thing because the components are specific to projects. And as you'll see in the roadmap, we are planning to make this more flexible as well. So well, maybe I can talk about that now. So while we're looking at it in context here. So we're going to make, like, if you use a lot of custom components, you might not want to have all these things you need to scroll past and so on. So we're going to make it possible to kind of hide things and make it more customizable. And also kind of that thing where do you want to show your, or kind of have a project-specific palette, or maybe you have your own kind of favorites or something when you're working on your personal projects or whatever. So it's going to get more flexible as well. But yeah, good question. The idea is that it will almost be like a small design system thing where the things that are found in the palette reflect the things you're expected to use. So it kind of guides you a little bit.
You just guessed what I had in my mind. That's
Yes.
exactly what I was thinking. Can I share the palette with my peers so that they get to see the same components and they don't have to add those one by one all over again?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, we're going to continue to kind of add some features to that. But yeah, I think the next batch will come in 24.8 probably. Yes. Let's actually just kind of create a new view to get something to play with. Webinar. Let's choose one of these. This one can be for everyone. And let's just create a new view here. So maybe this one, let's see. Okay, those countries look a little bit boring. So I thought, like, one thing we could talk about here now is kind of AI. So the first AI feature we added to Copilot was this prompt, where you can kind of type in. So let's say add EU. Oops. I can type add EU countries to the combo box, something like that. Yes, first thing, this is something new we have as well. So the first time you use AI, it will actually now show a pop-up, and also AI features sprinkled here and there will have this little icon, but it will you will have an option to cancel out if you accidentally used AI. Yeah, so it's a little bit, you can decide until you decide you don't want to decide anymore. There's also a feature for premium and up where you can on a team basis turn off AI if you have those requirements. But anyway, let's try to run this prompt here and hope for the best. So the whole idea with the AI from the beginning here was to create have it as a small helper that can do these annoying, tedious things that would take a while, like adding icons. It's pretty good at guessing which icons which fields should have, or in this case, just creating a bunch of data and so on. So it's a one-shot prompt for the view you're looking at. It knows what you have selected and so on. So it's helping you with this visual thing. So yeah, that's the first version of AI that we had, and the main problems when we started was short context windows and slow responses and so on, which has made it a little bit limited. But still, it's convenient for these types of things. This feature has changed a bit under the hood, but not very much the thing you see and how it works. So we'll look at the plans for that also a little bit later today. Yes, let's now hop over to something different. So we have some stuff here. We have a grid and a chart and some things I want to show you. So if I first select the grid here, sometimes when you're building something, it's really convenient to quickly get some dummy data. And we now have well, first of all, if you have a ready-made service, you can connect to that. But what I wanted to show now is we have a bunch of real-looking dummy data that you can choose from. So it can be quite convenient when you're making that first version, that you get some real-looking data. You can estimate how big things will go and so on. We have the same thing here for the charts. And I should point out that these features are a bit out of sync in Flow and Hill. We are syncing them, but not all features are available in one or the other. So I'm going to show you a different thing in this Flow view here. So in my application, I have both types of views just to be able to demo everything and show you. So this is the Flow view, and I think this is pretty cool as well. So I have a grid here. It has something, but yeah, I'm going to attempt to connect it to a service. So what I can do is choose an existing service if I have already, or I can create a new one. So this can be quite a time saver as well. So let's see. Oops. I can have it create an entity and make an in-memory thing. And here we have one of those sprinkled in AI features. So I can actually have the AI help me, create some fields here. So something like that, trying to generate those fields. And what it's doing here is just coming up with what fields I might want. I can give it more instructions as well, but it's pretty good at guessing. Then I can edit if something doesn't look like I wanted it, I can delete or change it. So right now I'm going to create that and hope for the best. This is actually one of those places where HotSwap is usually not able to do this correctly because it's Spring auto magic, and kind of this will require a restart. So let's do that. But while we're doing that, you can see it created the person entity here, person service. It inputs some dummy data statically here. Yeah, here is kind of the whole thing I did not have to write myself now. Yes, so now we should be, let's just refresh to prove that's up and running again. So now it has created kind of those fields and some dummy data. One additional thing I can show right now is I have my entity here. I can actually go ahead and drag it and drop it into here with Copilot active. And now it will create those fields matching the fields in my entity. So I don't have to manually kind of add these things. So again, quite a time saver for a lazy person like me.
Does it expect some specific formats like your plain old Java objects, or?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. So the entity it created here there's nothing special in here, but yeah.
But you do need getters and setters.
Getters and setters. Yeah, yes, it's gonna use that to create the fields and figure out what to do. We have been thinking on that this is something we can expand to support more kind of types of data, but yeah, that's what it does for now. Yes. What else? Yeah, maybe I could show while we're here. So we also down here, you might have noticed that there's a UI services panel. You kind of get a list also of those services you have created and kind of what access they have and what they create. So that's kind of convenient here. And maybe we now can actually, let's navigate over here where there's not so much distractions. Look at the right side panel. So you might have noticed when you enable Copilot, you get these animated things here indicating that we have kind of what we call drawers, actually to left, right, and bottom, which is right now just a log showing you something that are going on. Can be convenient, but yeah. So in the right side panel, we have a bunch of interesting things. So the documentation panel here is actually showing the documentation for the component you have selected. So I selected the button, it fetches the documentation, and I can kind of see usage and styling information and so on. Can be quite convenient to not have to hop over to the documentation. We have the theme editor. This is kind of, there's a lot here. But just shortly, you can kind of see what things you can edit here, and you can decide like now it's the selected component, so I can affect the component I have selected, kind of style that. You have a global section where you can change the whole theme of the application. So there's a bunch of things here. Then kind of the most interesting thing I thought I'd show is that browser inspector thing. So quite often we end up hopping over to the browser inspector and trying some styling out. So I'm not going to do anything fancy, but actually this is what I most often end up doing anyway. But yeah, so now I made that change here in the browser inspector, and as we all know, if I reload, that will disappear forever. But now actually this browser inspector can detect that change, and I can click the button to write it to my theme file. I'm not super happy with how that looks, so I'm not going to write it to my theme now, but kind of that's very convenient when you have been fiddling around with multiple different elements, and then you have to kind of manually then copy it into your style sheet. This can help you write those changes into the style sheet, so very handy. The information panel here is actually quite nice. And at this point, I'm going to mention, by the way, so Copilot is a commercial product, as I guess most know, but you can use all the things that are not writing your files. So for instance, the information panel and kind of looking at what you actually have, that's free to use. So this is one of those things you can kind of get an overview which version of all the things that go into your application here. And also there's this handy upgrade thing. Now, I happen to be on the latest, so usually this would look like this. Nothing to upgrade to, but I can actually enable pre-releases and then see that, yeah, I could try out the latest alpha here. I'm not going to do that now because it takes a while when Maven is downloading things from the internet, and we already had some problems, so let's not try that. But yes,
so
we
Mark,
have
just to confirm. So those features that are not writing to any files, those are freely available.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's kind of, so when you want Copilot to change some of your code, you need to kind of log in to be able to do that. I have a slide we'll with a little bit more details.
Excellent.
So yes, unless there's people asking to see specific things, we're getting closer to the end here. So,
there has been questions coming in, but we seem to have colleagues online who are answering the questions. Very kind of them.
Awesome. I can see the chat right now, so that's good. Yes, so that's the info panel. We have accessibility checker, and that's really handy when you are trying to make your application accessible. I'm afraid to press it because in my application, it's going to tell me a lot. For instance, that red thing I just made is no good. But yeah, this can be very helpful to help you go through and see kind of how accessible your application is. It's very picky, so you might get a lot, but you can kind of go through those one by one and kind of make your application more accessible. Next thing here is an AI thing. It's UI test generation. And as you can see, this is kind of an experimental thing. So if I click the button, it will use AI to look at your code and create actually playwright tests for that. And it can be a very handy, like you get really handy starting point for your tests. The reason it's experimental is that it's a little bit unstable. We haven't had time to work on that yet, to kind of sometimes a little bit too often it makes small mistakes. So I will have to go through the code by hand and adjust small things that it's just not kind of referencing right and so on. It's still kind of handy, so I recommend trying it out. But yeah, you will probably, sometimes it works out of the box, but often you will have to adjust small things before the tests work. Internationalization, kind of a big thing. It will find the static strings and so on. Let you translate. This works super well with if you are running control center, and we have kind of whole separate webinars on this, so let's not dive in. Last thing here is you will find all the feature flags that this version of Vaadin that I'm using right now has, so you can kind of see what things you are able to try out before they are officially released. Yes, I think we can at this point hop back to some slides. So maneuver, demo. Yes, so I was talking about that commercial free thing. So this is actually kind of a big deal. I want to remind everyone. So as I said, you need a subscription to use Copilot, the things that write your code. So you can start with the Plus plan, which is really, really kind of affordable. And all the plans above it will include it as well. There's a 3-day trial. which has no questions asked. You press a button. You can try 3 days for free. And we have just recently reset that. So if you have tried before, you can try again. One of the reasons being, in some version, we accidentally turned off the AI things for this preview. That was completely like a mistake. So you can, but yeah, we now have a lot of new features, so you can try those again. If you want a longer trial, we have like a more regular trial. You can get up to 90 days by logging in and then linking your GitHub and LinkedIn account. Yes, was there anything else? So maybe hopping quickly to kind of talking about the future a little bit.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes. So I had some notes about this, but my computer is not computing at all today. It's very interesting. I can't scroll my notes. So we'll just wing it. So yes, I was a little bit talking about this. So the AI kind of, well, first of all, the name indicates that this is an AI powered tool or kind of, Vaadin Copilot, but we also think it's good, like a good name for just all the tools that help you, not just AI. And kind of in the beginning, a year ago, what you could do with AI was more around this one-shot prompt that helps you do something quickly, a small thing in the view you're currently looking at. And yeah, because the context window was pretty short, the responses were pretty slow. We actually had to invent a way to get partial updates and apply those, because getting the whole file when you have an actual real UI, not just a silly demo, was kind of taking too long just outputting those tokens from the AI. So it actually now has partial updates. We had to do that. AI has come a long way. And you might have seen kind of video like this. So this is a prototype that we made, which is kind of more a chat-like agentic experience where you can kind of give it big tasks and kind of, it has this history where you can refer back to things and kind of tell it to correct things and so on. And it's doing kind of much bigger things in steps as well. So this is something we have been tracking kind of the whole scale and doing experiments behind the scene. If you check this video out, it's not faked in any way. It's actually just shortened so it wouldn't take such a long time, sped up. But yeah, it's doing all those things. So this is something that we're looking to kind of gradually bring into the actual kind of production Copilot. So that's one thing. And more kind of concrete roadmappy things. I'm not going to, by the way, like promise any dates about the AI thing and so on, but we are already, as you understand, working on it. So kind of when you see the first kind of releases of that, not sure yet, but yeah, it's coming. Other things on the roadmap. So I talked a lot about custom component support, and we're continuing that. It's a fairly big topic to be able to kind of drill down into the components and kind of see what you're actually editing and so on. One thing is base classes. Is if you're extending kind of a base class for your custom component, it's not handled very well yet. As I mentioned, the palette customizability, more towards a design system thing, better AI support for those custom components because the AI needs to know about those to be able to use them properly. HILA support is lagging behind in this custom component area. And then once we have those things, that's, by the way, one thing I didn't show is we have the Figma import, which is where you can, if you're using the Vaadin design system in Figma, can in Figma design a UI copy it, paste it into Copilot, and it turns into real components in your project. So we're going to expand that. So if you have custom components, you can use those as well in Figma. So not just kind of the base Vaadin components, but you can have custom components, and those will be mapped to your custom components in the project, like the code components. So that's something that many have asked for. What you can see to the side here is the properties editor. That's really needed for custom components as well, but it's super useful for any component, so you can set more properties than the ones you can kind of click on and see in the UI. So kind of a no-brainer. It's incredible we have made it this far without it. Yes, and then I promised to mention Eclipse. We have an issue in the backlog. It's not. We don't have a date for it. We don't know exactly. We're evaluating kind of where we should slot it in, which the priorities and so on. But we kind of that's sketched out quite well already what that entails. And so I think we'll have an Eclipse plugin. Can I say this year? It might appear sooner. We have let's not promise anything. So yeah, and kind of the last thing here, our roadmap is available under vaadin.com/roadmap. And at the top, if you're interested, there's a link to GitHub where you can dig in and see kind of the backlog board. For the Copilot issues, we're just kind of estimating and placing out where we think they will, in which release they will appear. So most of those are kind of not dated yet. So, and I won't say anything about that right now to upset the team, but we'll have some kind of features coming out in 24.8, 24.9, and so on. Yes. Questions and answers. I think there was something I was supposed to. Do we have any questions? I'm going to restart my notes and see if I can scroll them this time.
Yeah, we do have a few questions, but Martin has been doing an excellent job addressing those questions. So there aren't that many, if any, without an answer yet. But I think it might be a good idea to just quickly go through a few of those in case someone else is also wondering about the same thing as been asked here.
Yeah, I guess you can go also kind of, if you're interested, you can maybe can go and see those afterwards, or will they be lost forever? Yeah, I think.
I'm not actually fully sure. This might not be visible to viewers. Not sure about that. But
so maybe it's good to summarize
let's
something.
just quickly go through this. So
we should have Martin here to answer them properly, but I'll do my very best.
He's online. He's been answering these.
So you get the real answers in the chat. I'll say PM type answers there.
So there was one comment regarding the Eclipse plugin. First off, thumbs up. Could you explain which of the Copilot features you can use right now if you're working with Eclipse?
So we started building Copilot so that you didn't have to have a plugin at all. So kind of most of the things works. But as we progressed, we realized that, well, it should do this thing, and it should do that thing. You can set up hot swap manually, and then you will get pretty close without a plugin. But it does do some things, and I haven't tried in Eclipse. So for instance, in IntelliJ, it will tell IntelliJ that, hey, you should deploy the code now, which it might not do otherwise, and things like small things like this. I haven't tried with the whole kind of manual setup of hot swap and then using Eclipse, but you should get many things, and then some things might be like subpar experience, or it's faster if you have the plugin and so on.
But definitely worth trying.
Yeah, And yeah, so there's trials, so you can try it and let us know. And also, it's actually quite useful if you ping in on kind of the GitHub issue in the backlog or wherever, forum or whatever, and indicate that you are one of those waiting for Eclipse support, so we can kind of make decisions on that.
Cool. Hey, there is a comment saying that it looks like it's fairly simple and easy to create new applications with Copilot, but are there any types of applications for which you wouldn't recommend using Vaadin Copilot?
Well, I don't know, like the typical applications that you would not use Vaadin for, I guess. But there's also kind of unique, if you have kind of, it's kind of the custom component thing. If you have something very custom set up where you are extending a bunch of base classes, as I said, right now it might not work. If it's dynamically creating something, so Copilot can't find the code. Like in some cases, there may be kind of architectures or kind of this sort of thing that it just doesn't work very well with. But as far as kind of types of applications, I don't know if that's,
Yeah,
proper, highly interactive business applications, and good to go.
Yeah. Cool. Then we had a question regarding rolling back changes made by AI. What if AI makes a bad change and we want to revert? And
Yes.
Marcin already provided an answer to this one, that there is undo, redo implementation in Copilot, but it just triggers your IDE undo and redo operations. And it
yes.
might be slightly unreliable, as there might be some IDE additional actions run in the meantime and blah, blah, blah. So lots of things that can go wrong with that. And he continues that ideally you would be relying on Git, and that would be also my recommendation. Just commit often and use diff to see what has changed, and that allows you to easily revert back to previously working version.
Yeah, so actually right now, since the AI is mostly doing small changes to, the thing you're editing right now, it's usually working quite fine to just undo the change. But yeah, seconding the Git thing, as we progress and the AI gets more into that chatty thing, and it can edit like many files and do bigger changes, add many things that you might want to remove, or we have been thinking about that. So that's kind of one area where we will kind of pay attention, so you're able to see what did it do, how do I get back to the previous state, and so on. One idea we have been toying with is actually that you could somehow enable it to actually do git commit, so you can kind of get back that way. There was a discussion on the forum about this as well, but
yeah. But as a rule of thumb, just commit your changes and you're secured with that regard. Hey, we are almost at the top of the hour. In case we were not able to address your questions, however, I do feel that we have gone through all the questions so far. But if you have any further questions after the webinar or when watching the session afterwards, feel free to continue the conversation on our forum. I created a thread under which you can continue the conversation, or if you have a very specific question about anything regarding Vaadin, just use the forum. That's super convenient resource. And with that, I also wanted to use this opportunity to advertise our next webinar, which is already next week, Tuesday, super soon. And the reason why we have a bit different kind of a schedule with this one is because we have a guest joining this webinar. So we are having Jonas from Vaadin creating a Vaadin application, then using Control Center to deploy it on Microsoft Azure cloud that is being set up during the session with our partner from Microsoft, Mark Heckler. So please do join us on Tuesday. It's going to be super fun and exciting and very, very practical session on Vaadin, Control Center, and Microsoft Azure. And with that, I would like to say thank you all, and we will send out the recording to this session as well as the slides in a few hours' time from now. Thank you all, and have a great day. Till the next time.
Thank you. Thank you from me as well, and don't be a stranger. See you online.
Bye.